together somehow. Questions from three different people, and it has to do with the integrity of the water supplies in both Reading and North Reading. One is, what role do you believe state government should play in preserving the integrity of Reading's water supply? Another question is, could you assist North Reading to improve its water supply? And the third question has to do with how we all deal with the rising water costs and dealing with the MWRA, etc. Could we kind of tackle that as one big subject, Reading, North Reading, and NWRA all in one? Let's see, Sandy, you got the first shot on that.
Oh, okay.
No, actually.
No?
Oh,
Is that
it's
wrong?
actually
No, fairness, I do.
But I
get
was
this
going
right.
to take it.
Sorry about that.
No, I think I'll give you an example. One area in North Reading, we have an area called the Concord Street area, which is commercial industrial. One of the things I've been working on as a member of the Board of Selectmen and as a legislative is to bring sewers to that area. That'll be a good commercial project for the town of North Reading. It'll help our tax base. Just as importantly, though, it'll protect Reading's well areas and ensure that Reading maintains its own independent, viable drinking supply. We all saw the gas spill that happened and the threat that happened to Reading, and fortunately Reading lucked out, but not without a great risk.
Okay, 30 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know which piece to attack. Maybe the MWRA rates, because I know they're on the minds of all the voters. I really believe that your legislator, if they're being effective, should be lobbying, the L word, to get as much relief back to the cities and towns as possible to help taxpayers with those incredibly escalating MWRA rates.
Okay, we have a couple of questions here with regard to public transit that I think I can perhaps mold into one as well. Service on the MBTA has been deteriorating under the present administration. What do you propose doing about that, and how could you improve access to public transit in this area generally? Sandy, I do believe you are first this time.
Lucky on this one. I was like, whoa. The MBTA. Well, I'll tell you, I haven't really thought about it. I did ride the MBTA when I worked at Mass General, and the service seemed very good as far as I was concerned. We had clean cars, and the trains arrived on time, and it was a very effective means of moving from Reading to Boston. But if you're talking about the subway system, I would think that you need to be supportive of monies to the MBTA to keep those services and keep the trains very up to date and in fine working order. But I honestly have to admit, I haven't thought a lot about that. But I'd be open to ways if people have ideas of how we could make the MBTA more effective. I'm willing to hear them.
All right, Brad, 30
Well,
seconds.
I'd like to see the MBTA expanded. I'd like to see the MBTA expanded to North Reading to give us service for the $250,000 that we're assessed every year. I'd like to see North Reading at least get service for its handicapped and its senior citizens. I think that public transportation is a vital necessity, both for pollution control, congestion in Boston. There's no place to park. It's expensive to park. I think a lot of the issues that we've talked about tonight, whether it's crime and this and that, they impact the use of the MBTA, and people don't want to go on there because they don't feel safe. People feel safe driving in their own cars. I think the MBTA could be improved simply with greater efficiencies within its budget. It's one of the huge budget busters. The state pumps in hundreds of millions of dollars every year, and I don't think that that it's necessary to throw more money at it. I think the greater efficiencies could be attained at the MBTA.
All right, let's do another round of questions from our panel of reporters here tonight. Back to Ken McGuire. If you would, a question for Brad Jones.
Brad, in Reading, the Parker Middle School, parents and school officials toured the school last night. It's in need of renovations. They're talking along the lines of $11, $12, $13 million. What they're concerned about is funding and state funding. Do you have any confidence of helping to get state funds up front for that project or any area project similar to that, such as was the case in North Reading for the high school renovation project a few years ago?
Well, in North Reading, we had a great group that worked on that issue. I think as a legislator, the first issue to work on is to make sure there's full and adequate funding for the School Building Assistance Bureau, because that's where the money is going to flow through. If that money is provided for, then approval will be able to be done on a speedier basis, and the money will be able to be allocated to a specific project on a speedier basis. That, as a legislator, would be the first and foremost goal.
All right, Sandy, 30 seconds.
I recognize the importance of the renovations or the new building of the Parker Middle School and would take that on as a mission as the state legislator to drive that through to get the funding we need so that that project can be accomplished. It's vital to the Reading school system.
All right, Andy DeBellis, if you would, a question for Sandy Trainer.
In the, you mentioned Tip O'Neill earlier, in the All Politics is Local department, the legislature, again this year, might get a crack at the Hillview Commission Home Rule petition to decide whether the Board of Selectmen or the voters should name the members of that commission. Seems to go beyond the question of whether you play golf or not, as to whether you think the local board should have appointing authority removed from it. Would you support the Home Rule petition beyond just giving the local town the right to make the decision, or are you concerned about where that would lead in taking away the appointing authority?
I really feel, I know this is a hot issue because I'm sitting with the selectman who makes that appointment, and I know how political that whole thing has become up in North Reading. For the people of our audience that might not know, a real political plum is the ability of the selectmen to appoint the Hillview Commission members. And it's been used as, or it's alleged it's used as a political reward system. And so because of that, there is a lot of anger among a certain group that let's take that control away from the selectmen and, you know, have that a voted position instead of an appointed position. I'm not sure that gets to the root cause of the problem. I think that the voters select their selectmen, they go and vote for their selectmen, and you should be voting for people that take their responsibility seriously and appoint people to the commission who do a good job. And that should be the criteria for reappointment as well, not who's going to do what for whose campaign.
Does that mean you would not support the Home Rule petition to let them make that choice?
No, yeah, exactly. Right.
Brad, 30 seconds.
Sorry about that.
Well, I think there's two interesting points there. First of all, you have a potential state representative saying that if a town, by virtue of its town meeting, wishes to pursue home rule legislation, if she disagrees with it, she won't file it. I think that's a very scary proposal for the citizens of this district. If home rule legislation comes to my desk as a state representative, it is my obligation and my commitment to file it. Additionally, I think a second point that should be made here is that you know, you potentially are having a state representative here getting themselves involved in the local politics of another community of which she is not from. I think that is very scary.
Well,
I've got to stop both of you right now, and
yeah.
we'll go back to that if you'd like, after we take a short break.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, candidates, the folks at home, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We're going to go right through to 9 o'clock, so that means you can stretch only. Please don't leave the room. We'll be back right after these messages.
These days, automobile manufacturers are doing a lot to save lives. Airbags, anti-lock brakes, and integrated child seats. Well, now there's something you can do with your car to help save lives, too. The American Cancer Society needs volunteers to help drive cancer patients to their treatments. If you can help, please do. Oh, and one more thing. This time, I don't care what kind of car you drive to do it in.
All right, welcome back. I'm Gary LaPierre. You are listening to and watching Candidates Night with the two candidates for state representative. And the special election, as you know, or if you certainly ought to know by now, is March 1st to replace Representative Rob Krikorian, who has resigned to join the Weld administration. So the election will be on March 1st, and we urge you to pay attention a lot between now and then to do the right thing on Election Day. As just before we took the break, a question from Andy DeBillis. Apparently, both candidates would like another 30 seconds on it. Is it necessary perhaps for Andy to quickly rephrase the question? Are you ready to jump on this? where you left off.
Sure.
You ready to go at it?
Could.
Go ahead. Be my guest.
Oh, okay.
30
All
seconds
right.
for both of you.
I just wanted to clarify a point. If I was asked to file a home rule petition as a legislator, of course I would do that. That would be my responsibility to the community. What I was trying to say was that I wanted to, as a legislator, I would also stay out of that kind of local issue and wouldn't be on one side or the other on the issue. It's interesting that this issue in particular, as inflammatory as it is, centers around the selectmen, and my opponent, of course, is one of the players in the whole situation.
All right, Brad, 30 seconds.
Well, I'd like to thank my opponent for correcting, because that's clearly not what she stated in her answer, her previous answer. I absolutely believe that as a representative, I have an obligation to file home rule legislation. There is an amendment, town meeting article for April town meeting in the town of North Reading that would address this issue. Once again, and there's a procedure in place, so the citizens of North Reading can make a decision, and that's their purview and their discretion.
One more question from our panelists tonight. Bob Terose from the North Reading Transcript. If you would you direct your question to candidate Brad Jones?
If you could point to just one thing on your resume and tell to the voters of Reading and North Reading and say, vote for me because of this, what would that be?
It would be my 3 years of dedicated and hard work on their behalf as the legislative aide to the previous state representative. I enjoyed my time, I worked hard, I responded to people in the evenings, on weekends, and I'm asking for promotion on March 1st.
Same question. Sandy?
Well, it would be natural to go to my healthcare experience because of the timeliness of healthcare as a topic. However, I think what I bring to the role that would be of most value is the past 3 years where I have worked with businesses and industries across the state of Massachusetts in cost containment issues, helping organizations change to have positive effects on their bottom line. And I think that kind of thinking, working in those kind of organizations would be very useful experience.
All right, let me toss just a couple of others here before we have to start giving some serious thought to the candidates' closing statements. There seems to be a tremendous amount of interest, both in the phone callers and the people here in the audience tonight, about some community service, specific personal things that you have done on the community level, community service activities that you have participated in, and how important those things seem to be to your job as a state representative. And also, if you could cite some examples in the business community and how that would apply as well. But could both the candidates, please, starting with you, Brad, give me some specific community service things that you have done, participated in over the course of the years you think will make you a better state rep?
Do I get this question first? Or?
Yes.
Okay. I'll change the order then. I've been involved in supporting the Citizen Scholarship Foundation, which my parents have been involved with for over 30 years in the town of North Reading. It raises money for graduates of North Reading High School and previous graduates to go on to attain higher degrees. I'm very proud of that. I've been involved in the North Reading Youth Soccer League as a coach and as a player. I think these are tremendous opportunities for children and young people to get involved in their community, to grow up, to be educated, to learn, to interact. I'm very proud of those involvements, and I will continue those involvements as a state representative.
Sandy Traynor?
Well, this is a bit unfair because I have so many more years of opportunities to have served the community than Brad, but I've been involved in local politics. I was on the Board of Health. I've been a town meeting member. I've been on the planning board. I serve on the Council on Aging currently. I've been involved in my religious activities with my church, teaching confirmation, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I've been involved in education, special education task force. I've been in the League of Women Voters. It's kind of embarrassing to put this litany in front of you because everything I've ever done, I did not do to put it in front of you tonight. I did it because when I saw that something needed to be done and I thought I had some knowledge or skill that could make a contribution, I came forth and did it. And so therefore, I feel a little uncomfortable in sharing all the things I've done, but I believe it's one's commitment to the community that requires one to come forward and do these sorts of things.
Timers, if you would, give each candidate 60 seconds on this follow-up to that. How does this background